Hey, welcome to episode 1 of VST Adventures, with your host, Forrester. That's me! Hey, I'm your host, Forrester, and you're watching VST Adventures. VST Adventures. Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Today, we are going to be talking about 8-bit music. Particularly an 8-bit VST called FamiSynth. FamiSynth is an amazing VST that recreates the classic Famicom or NES sound. The roots of the signature sound begin in 1983 with the Nintendo Family Computer, which caught fire around the early to mid-80s, figuratively, not literally. While America was experiencing an insanely large console game market crash, sales of the Famicom in Japan surged, and by 1986, just 3 years after its introduction, 6.5 million Japanese homes owned a family computer. Soon after, Nintendo began exporting it to the US, and as the NES swept across the country, revitalizing the console game market in America, the signature sound of the Ricoh RP2A03 sound processor was also spread. The stock NES only supported a total of 5 sound channels. 2 pulse channels, 1 triangle wave, a noise generator, which was often used for percussion, and a DPCM channel for playing low quality DMC samples. Because of these limitations, and because the console held an insane 2 kilobytes of RAM,
now you're playing with power,
which could only be expanded with additional memory cartridges, soundtracks and sound effects had to be very compact, which led to melodically rich, harmonically simple music. Long, winding ambient music filled with insane samples just wasn't viable until the 90s, until consoles like the Super NES came out. But these limitations are what gave the NES soundtracks their iconic sound. Masterpieces like the Final Fantasy soundtrack and the original Mario soundtrack were all made using these limitations. And now, in modern times, lots of people, especially ones who are inspired by video games like me, try to replicate or incorporate this type of music into their tracks. I'm not trying to recreate every limitation, although that is possible with an NES DAW called FamiTracker. That's another video altogether. Leave a comment if you'd like to see that. I'm simply using the sounds that were used back in the 80s, and for me, FamiSynth is the best way to do it. Okay, so let's take a look at what FamiSynth can do and what kind of sounds you can make using it. So let's just jump right into it. So if we look over here, this is FamiSynth. This is what it looks like. Straight up, this is the default patch. This is what it sounds like. So it's pretty nice. It's got a very hectic modulation on it, but okay, so let's go over what FamiSynth looks like and what it can do. So this is the GUI themed to look like a Famicom controller, so that's very cool. And it has got 4 sections on this first page over here: sound generator, envelope generator, mod generator, and output settings. So those are the first 4, and there are another 3 advanced settings. So 7 different panels, all with different things inside them that you can change the values of. So if we click on page over here, we can go over to the next page of panels. So there's another 3. MIDI in settings, extra parameters, and filter parameters. So let's learn this VST. First of all, on the very top here in the corner, there's our preset menu and function menu for the presets. So we have a preset chooser, so I'm going to start off with an untitled empty patch, and we have here a function menu for load a patch, load a preset, save a preset, load a bank, save a bank. So that's all very cool. If you want to make a sample pack or a bank of sounds for one project or multiple projects, it's a very good tool. That's something new in version 2. Anyway, then we have check and page. So what check does is it just checks the sound of your patch. So if we click it, it checks that the sound is working. So we can confirm that the sound is working. And page is simply changing the page of these panels in the middle. So now let's get into the panels and how to control the panels. So you control the panels by using these buttons on the side over here. On the side of each panel it shows what each of those do. So in this first panel, the sound generator, up and down changes the oscillator wave, and left and right changes the wave shape. B and A are just toggles. Bitrate is changed by B and portamento is changed by A. So let's get into the sound generator and the rest of the panels and see what they do. So the first section of the sound generator, the first option is oscillator wave. So we have 4 different waveforms in FamiSynth and 1 noise generator. So we have our sine wave, we have a saw wave, we have a triangle wave, and we have a square wave. So those are the 4 waves and a noise generator which sounds like this. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go with a triangle wave for this. And then beneath that we have wave shape. So the wave shape changes the shape of the waveform and gives it different timbres. So we have I'm going to just go with the default first wave shape because I think that sounds pretty nice. And then bitrate, we have 8-bit and 4-bit. So this is a true 8-bit sound generator in case you guys are super into being really historically accurate. So this is how that sounds. And then 4-bit sounds like this. So I can think of a few different settings where 4-bit would sound nice, but right now I'm going to leave it at 8-bit. And porta mono or porta is for gliding. If you've ever worked with synths before, I'm sure you know what that means. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to leave that off as well. And now we get into the next section, which is the envelope generator. So we have attack time, which is basically how long the note takes to attack. So if I turn this up, it fades in, and it goes up to a bit more of an extreme fade. So that's a very long attack, and if we want it on the shortest attack possible, we have an instant response. So that's pretty cool. So we have decay time, which is how long the note takes to decay if we had sustain all the way off. So let me demonstrate how this works with sustain level all the way down. This is a common thing. This is how all envelopes work in synthesis, and if you don't know how ADSR works, I'm sure you can find some videos on that. With sustain all the way down and release all the way down, decay is the time it takes for the note to completely disappear after the attack is done. So when the decay is really long, obviously it takes very long for the note to go out, but when the decay is quite short, it becomes more of a pluck sound. Even though I hold down the note. So it is not a release time, which is how long the note goes on for after I lift the key. It is decay, so it only applies while the key is pressed down. So I'm going to turn that all the way down, and I'm going to turn my sustain up and demonstrate to you what sustain is. So sustain is kind of difficult to explain, but try and put a graph up over here of how ADSR works, and I'll try and put a demonstration of how sustain works and where it sits in the envelope generator. So it's basically the line over here that chooses how loud the main part of the note is going to be, not the attack or release. And then last of all, of course, we have the release time. So release is how long the note goes on for after we let go of the key. Right now it's nothing, and if we turn it up, as you can hear, it carries on going after I lift the key. So that's very long release. Now my hands are completely free off the note. This is what it would sound like on like a nice echoey sort of sounding pad. So that's a very nice sound. I'm actually going to leave the release on a little bit because I'm actually really enjoying how that's sounding. Next panel we have is the mod generator. So modulation is basically a waveform that changes the properties of the sound as it modulates up and down. So it's basically LFOs, a low frequency oscillator. I explained that in my subtractive synthesis video, so go watch it. So we can choose different types of LFO waves. So we can have a sine wave, a saw wave, a inverted saw wave, and a triangle wave and a square wave. Beat select is how fast the LFO moves. So I can have it on 1/4 of a beat, 1/2 of a beat, 1/8 of a beat, or 1 full beat, and then we can go all the way down to 2 beats, 4 beats, and 1/16 is the fastest. It loops around again. That 16 is pretty cool. You can actually make some very, very wacky sounds, but I'll show you how in a moment. I'm going to go on to 1/2 a beat for now. Okay, and now we are on mod depth. So that is how much the LFO waves affects the pitch. So if we turn it all the way up, it's going to be very, very extreme. And that makes some pretty crazy sounds. If you can map that to a MIDI controller, it might sound pretty wacky. So if we up the beat select to 1/8 and then the mod depth to like second from the top, we can have some pretty crazy sounds. And as you hear, which is pretty interesting, I didn't notice this before, but when you release the note, it actually returns back to its normal position. So that's pretty cool. This is how it would sound if we were trying to play like a song. Just froze up my whole computer, so that's pretty cool. My computer definitely liked that one. Then we have mod delay, which is how long it takes before the LFO comes in. We have very extreme, so it comes in instantly. And then we have very subtle, so it takes a long time to come in. So we hear it only coming in like later on in the sound. So and then lastly, on the first page of panels, we have output setting. So output setting is the octave, the transposition, and the volume and the echo level of the entire thing. So we can change the octave by 4 total octaves. Then we obviously have transpose, which is, as I said in my creative block video, transposition is a very good way to inspire yourself to do different things and find a different sound. So now I've transposed a few semitones down. Next of all, we have volume, which is very important. Obviously, it's just the volume of our synth. So I like to keep mine somewhere in the middle. And then we have echo level, which is just the volume of the built-in delay. So if I turn that up, which I probably will use a little bit on my patch, it just sounds like this. Now if we turn the echo very loud. Yeah, so it's just a very standard analog-y sort of delay. After we have worked with echo level for a little bit, we are going to now move on to page 2. Something you should know before we continue, which I really should have told you in the beginning because now you've probably wasted a lot of time clicking these buttons. You can just open a drop-down menu when you press the option to choose what you want. So attack time, we can just drop down the menu and choose something different. So yeah, that's probably kind of annoying that I didn't know that until now, but that's a very useful bit of information. So now we're on page 2 and we have 3 more panels to go through. There is MIDI in settings, which I don't know a great deal about. This is new and was introduced in version 2, which I'm quite new to. I actually only updated to version 2 for this tutorial because I didn't know there was a version 2 until I researched a bit more for this tutorial. Anyway, there's MIDI in settings, so you can choose different MIDI channels, so that's pretty cool if you have different keyboards or whatever. We have the bend range of the pitch bend wheel. I don't have a mod wheel here right now, or a pitch bend wheel. It's on my other keyboard, which is unplugged because it was in the way. But you can choose how many, I think it's, semi notes that you want to bend your, bend the range of the pitch wheel to bend. I don't actually know what retrigger is, I'm sorry, I'm a noob with Anyway, whatever, I'm going to keep it off. And then we have key velocity, which is whether you want it to be velocity sensitive or not. So I currently do, because I love that expressive feeling. So with it off, it just will sound like this. Very basic flat sound, and now with the feeling we can do. So that's very nice. I like key velocity. That should always be on. And then there is extra parameters, which is just random extra stuff. So that's pretty cool. Basically, it just gives us a oscillator detune. So which I'm not entirely sure what oscillator detune is. So I'm just going to leave it on default. There is porter time, which is how long we want the glide to be. So on page 1, if you remember, we have portamento. So if I turn it back on for mono portamento stuff, we can turn it down and it's an instant porter sound. You just basically give yourself a mono. And then if we put it all the way up to the very top, we have a very slow glide. So this is what that would sound like. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to leave mine off because porter is off in the first place. And then we have LFO source, so it's variable. You can set it to MIDI sync, so now it's currently set to my tempo, and then now it's set to variable. So when it is set to variable, you are able to change the variability speed, and the vary speed can be chosen. So we can turn it up or down. So I'm going to leave mine on variable and have it about there because I like how that sounds. And last of all, we come to one of my favorite panels. It is the last panel, and it is the filter panel, which is pretty cool. Basically, we have a high pass filter and a low pass filter, very basic, and we can high pass and low pass our sound. So let's just go with a chord and turn on that low pass filter. So that's very cool, very basic. And we have our high pass filter. So I'm going to leave my sound like that. I normally do EQ later on, but it's nice if you want to really mold your sound. Then we have resonance, which is always a cool thing. It's like the overtones of the sound, and that can get pretty out of hand, so I'm going to leave mine all the way down. And then we have filter envelope, which is just how extreme the filter is in its wave. I'll put a basic thing of how that works here. I think this is how it works. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what that does. Yeah, and that is basically the synth itself. So lastly, of course, we have just a test to be able to play the notes. So it's just one octave's worth of notes in the C scale. Yeah, it's pretty cool little feature. That is FamiSynth. That's how it works. That is a full rundown, a full comprehensive review of how it works. I hope it wasn't too boring. Yeah, I'm going to save this patch that I made, and to do that I just have to go here, I have to go function and save preset. I can give it a name. I'm just going to be calling it Triangle Magic because I'm cheesy and don't know how the heck to save my presets. Yeah, now if I load it, there we go. yeah, I'm very happy with my preset. I'll drop it down below so you guys can go through it and mess around with it and change it. But FamiSynth does come with a really large amount of presets already, a whole ton of very cool sounding different presets, so that's pretty cool. Go check out Moo Channel's website, download his other synths and VSTs. It's all in Japanese, but Google Translate helped me. We'll be going over another one of his synths in a future video, maybe the next episode, called Nanook, which is a Moog emulator, which, oh my gosh, it is an amazing synth with an amazing sound. I can't believe it's free. But anyway, enjoy. This is FamiSynth, and here's a song that I made using entirely FamiSynth. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.